Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. A few people have left comments on my videos regarding Jarrell Miller saying, you know, the guy served his time. Why do you say he should be banned from boxing or from combat sports in general for life? And some of them have said things like, what about Conor Benn? You know, what about this person? What about Dillian Whyte? I mean, look, I have never been someone who believes that a first offence should get you a lifetime ban. And I've never, ever been naive enough or ignorant enough to believe that all hot tests are the same. They're obviously not. So I've never, for example, stated that Conor Benn should be banned for life. That's Tony Bellew's area. And Frank Warren, I think, has said something similar. But I'm not that draconian. But when it comes to someone like Miller, it seems to me that the man is almost a ped junkie. And if you've ever worked with addicts, which I have did for many years, you'll know that, you know, addiction is a mindset. You can be addicted to gambling, you can be addicted to eating too many biscuits, you can be addicted to shopping, or you can be addicted to crack, heroin, or PEDs. You know, it's not it's not the substance or what you're addicted to, it's the mindset. A huge part of it is, anyway. There are, of course, physical elements to it as well, but most of it's to do with the mindset, with the psychology. And it seems to me that Jarrell Miller is addicted to cheating, to PEDs. Now, if you look at Miller, when he was a kickboxer, he popped hot. This was back in 2014 for something. I read the name of the thing. It had about 6 lengthy syllables. It began with meth. I have no idea what it was, but he got popped for it, and he was banned. And then I think the following year, 2015, he turned over into conventional boxing, Queensberry rules, and so on. And we know what happened with the Anthony Joshua fight. He popped hot. Andy Ruiz came in and upset the apple cart for Joshua. Miller served a pathetic 6-month ban from the WBA. The WBA, when have they ever done anything truly positive for the long-term welfare of boxing or boxers? Dreadful organisation. So he came back. He was signed to Top Rank. He then popped hot again for all sorts of PEDs. And this is not a case of, well, you know, I had a supplement drink or I did this and, you know, blah, blah, blah. No. These are proper cycles he was doing that involve all sorts of injections. When I worked for Drug and Alcohol Agency, working with people with addictions, I didn't have much to do with PED users. They'd come in and use the needle exchange and we'd do a bit of harm minimisation, but I was more on the so-called recreational drug side, heroin, crack, you know, ket and all that other stuff. So I don't really know a great deal about PEDs. But having signed to Top Rank, he then popped hot again. It was a whole laundry list of pharmaceuticals, and he got banned again. He got his contract ripped up with Top Rank, and off he went into the sunset. And now he's back. You know, he fought Daniel Dubois, got stopped on his feet. Fought Lewis was it? No, Andy Ruiz, wasn't it? Yeah, Andy Ruiz. He fought him. Both of them looked pretty terrible. Then he fought. I mean, you know, he's coming back now. He's got Fabio Wardley. And there was an interview with Fabio Wardley in this week's Boxing News, which was out today. Today being Thursday, 17th of April, 2025. And Wardley was saying, "Look, I think that he should have been banned for life, but he wasn't. He wasn't banned for life. He has served his time, at least officially, albeit a very paltry sort of punishment. So his name was in the hat, and we thought he'd be a good opponent." But as Wardley himself said, "Look, I'm not a ruling commission. I'm not a drug agency. I don't have any authority. I'm a fighter." And this, I suppose, picks up on the video that I did a while back, talking about Chris Eubank Jr. being basically, he's after the money. It's a 2-fight deal. He condemns Ben and says Conor Benn and says that he endangered his life and so on, and but yet he's taking money to fight him. Is that a sign of hypocrisy? I think you can make a case for it. So we have to be consistent where there's any kind of moral point to be made. You have to be consistent and say, well, is Wardley in the same boat? Is it enough to say, I don't make the rules. Yeah, the guy was found guilty, but they're allowing him to fight. Why can't I fight him? I'm a prize fighter. I've got to try and maximise my earnings. It's a very interesting moral conundrum, and I can see both sides of the argument, definitely. But make no mistake about it, JARRELL MILLER is in a different universe to Conor Benn. Conor Benn made a tit of himself, okay, during that sabbatical that he had, where, with his, 5 billion page dossier and all that talk about eggs and being proven innocent and all that, and then I'm fit, and then he had 2 fights abroad, and he didn't handle it well. And he's a young man, and I'm not saying he's an idiot, but he's not necessarily an intellectual either. And he probably had bad people advising him. And in my opinion, and this is something I've talked to Lee at Inside the Distance about, he agrees with me. I think it's a very, very good point. If somebody does piss hot, it isn't just the fighter that should be punished, it's the whole team. Because if you're in a gym, you kind of know what's going on. You know who's doing what. You've got a very, very good idea. And that's why have you got a team? If you must have a nutritionist, part of your team should be people who are looking out for you, because no fighter is a chemist, no fighter is an expert in pharmaceuticals. If I was a boxer, and I've been around some drugs, but I wouldn't know what the fuck was going in my body. That's why you hire a nutritionist. That's why. And yes, I understand the buck stops with the person taking the food, drinking the drink, and so on. But things can slip through the net, and that may well have happened with Conor Benn. With JARRELL MILLER, it absolutely did not happen. Everybody concerned with JARRELL MILLER should have been banned from the sport, from combat sports, but certainly from boxing. And as I've said before, Miller is such an exaggerated, such an obvious example of a cast iron stone cold cheat that his entire resume, in my opinion, should be changed to no contests. All of them. Yeah, up to, when he actually did get defeated by Dubois. Because, and if he gets popped hot again, let's say he pisses hot for the Wardley fight. Prior to that, all of his, the fight with Ruiz should be scratched off his record. I really am a firm believer that you got to hit these guys where it hurt, which is mainly in the pocket, but also their legacy. Because if you look down his record and you see no contest, no contest, no contest, and then there's a note underneath, NB, failed PED test repeatedly, blah, 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 blah. That identifies you for what you are, which is a fucking cheat. Okay, so that is why I think JARRELL MILLER should be banned for life. Will I watch the fight with Wardley? Of course I will. This is a boxing channel. Am I a hypocrite? Maybe. I don't know. Where do we draw the line? I mean, Wardley's point about, I don't have any power over this, but if it was down to me, I would have him banned. You can't dismiss that, because we're all powerless, and we all watch things that we perhaps shouldn't watch. I'm not particularly sold on the Eubank versus Benn fight. I've said before, I think it started off as a gimmick fight. I think the weight in that fight, the weight issue, makes it intriguing. But am I that fussed about it? Not really. Not really. No. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a great fight. I hope hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. More great fights we have, the better. But when does that slip over into us being hypocrites? I don't really know. It's a very blurry line, isn't it? But let me know what you think. Leave your comments below and tell me what you think about Miller. Should he be banned for life? Where do you stand on lifetime bans? Let me know. Just whatever you got to say, leave it down below. Yeah, and thanks for watching the video. Please like the video if you liked it, and hit the subscribe button if you're new, because we're almost at 6,000 subs. I think we're about 7 off it as I'm making this video. So 7 more people subscribing means we get to 6,000. Thank you in advance. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time as always, and bye for now.